Jason Gilbo here with Nick Tasso breaking down some GPP bets for today's slate. 15 games. There are a ton of bad pitchers on this slate. I mean, it's got to be pretty close to setting a new record.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have Kershaw, which, you almost have to play at this point with everyone else on the slate, and then you just got bad starting pitchers everywhere.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, at least there's a couple price down guys where, we can kind of try and fit in with Kershaw. So, I think we each have a nice value play at each position where, those are going to be kind of the highlights of those Kershaw lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be definitely roster construction, like it always is in this one, but I think it's going to be a little bit more because you sort of need to throw Kershaw in there almost.
Yeah. I'll take a look at catcher here first. In terms of paying up, speaking of catchers, speaking of the Dodgers, I like Yasmani Grandal here. Nice price, good ballpark. I love the Dodgers bats. Miguel Gonzalez is someone who struggles with lefties and right-handers. 355 over to lefties this year. Doesn't miss a lot of bats, so Grandal is firmly in play for me.
Yeah, totally. In situations like this, Grandal really has to be looked at. There's not too many high-priced catchers higher than him, so I think he might have middle-of-the-road ownership, but I still like him. He's in a good matchup. One of my guys, top guy, would be Brian McCann, another guy who's in a good matchup, good ballpark, and he hasn't been too bad lately, so I don't mind rostering him against the young righty.
No, I don't either. You and I are both looking, as usual, James McCann against the lefty, Travis Woods on the hill. Wood, 370 Woba to righties this year. He's making a spot start. It's just McCann hammers lefties. He's always cheap. You want to play Kershaw. I think, McCann's the way to go save some salary.
Yeah, absolutely. My only concern, even though I like him as well, is just he might only get a couple at-bats against a lefty because, like you said, Wood's a relief pitcher making the spot start. So it might be a tough thing for him to see consistent 3 or 4 at-bats against him. So that's the only downside. But other than that, he's still an okay hitter against righties. Not good, but he can still handle the ball and kind of find himself every once in a while.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good point there. Chris Herman, 3K on DraftKings, catcher. If he's in the lineup, it's just, once again, I never know what this Arizona lineup's going to be just between all their middle infielders. Their 3-4 catchers that they carry. So if Chris Herman's in the lineup, I like him. Sal Romano's a guy who doesn't miss many bats, at least from his minor league numbers. And Great American Ballpark is just played as a top 5 ballpark to play DFS in.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, the Diamondbacks always is a question mark who's going to be in there outside of really Lamb and Goldschmidt. So just got to wait and see on that one. And then my final guy would be Cameron Rupp. He hits lefties pretty well, and Conley's making his first start since May. So I think he kind of figured things out in the minors, but I still like Rupp in this spot because he does hit lefties well. He has at least 1 hit in 5 of his past 6 games. So he's sort of heating up a little bit now that we're kind of in the summer. So I don't mind rostering him. He's not super cheap as McCann would be, but he's still kind of middle of the road, and he'll probably get low ownership on him too.
Yeah, I don't mind him. Rupp against the lefty is always in play for me. Looking at first base, this is a spot where kind of tough to narrow down. Obviously Goldschmidt's in play up top, but I love Cody Bellinger. We know the home run upsides there. This is a guy who just hit for the cycle, 2 or 3 games ago, and just another good spot here. I think the Dodgers offense is probably going to be a pretty good core for me.
Yeah, totally. You can't really go wrong with the Dodgers against Gonzalez tonight. So definitely like him in that spot. My top guy, he's priced a little bit down, basically because of the ballpark, but it's Logan Morrison. He's only 4,400 on DraftKings, and he's just shown tremendous power against righties this year, and he's already has 2 home runs since the All-Star break, so he's kind of getting locked in. Didn't do great yesterday, but I think he rebounds here against kind of a no-name starting pitcher.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you. In terms of cheap guys, you and I both like Matt Adams. And lefties against John Lackey, that's been a way to go this year. 378 Woba allowed. This is a really good spot for guys like Freddie Freeman, Matt Adams, and you and I were talking. We love the fact that you can actually play them together now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's extremely nice now that Freeman's back and he's playing third and Adams is at first. It kind of works out really well. Price tag's not even bad, too. So I definitely would throw him in here. And we've seen Lackey really struggle at times. So I have no issues, especially in this new Atlanta ballpark.
I don't either. As far as other guys, Justin Boer's in play for me. Velasquez has showed some struggles against lefties. I'm kind of intrigued with the Toronto first baseman, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Brian Johnson's making a start. He had one good start against Seattle. Outside of that, he's just been kind of an average lefty who doesn't miss a lot of bats.
Yeah, I'm not super thrilled about Brian Johnson starting as a Red Sox fan, but it is what it is. So kind of agree with you there. He might struggle. Staying in that ballpark, actually, I know one of these times it's going to happen. So I'm going with Sam Travis again. He's pretty cheap, so I really don't mind rostering him, saving the salary, and he's bound to do something one of these days.
I like him. I'm so sick of John Farrell pulling him after one or two at bats. That's my thing with him. But yeah, I think tonight, like if you're paying up for pitching and you want to just really dive down at bad positions, I don't mind him.
Can I change your John Farrell statement to I'm just so sick and tired of John Farrell?
Sick of him anyway. Yeah,
Stop
I'm
right
with
there.
you.
But back to DFS, the only other guy I want to just point out would be Tommy Joseph. Again, you have Conley coming in, and Joseph actually, even though he has a terrible batting average against lefties on the year, good WOBA and a really good, impressive ISO. So I definitely think he has tremendous power. Not the best ballpark, obviously, but they can't all be winners, basically.
Yeah, I'm with you there. There's a few good ballparks tonight, but for the most part, we're actually playing a lot of West Coast games, Kansas City, Pittsburgh. So it's actually more bad ballparks than good parks this night.
Yeah, that's never fun, but you know what? At least the averages will help out in your favor if you are doing a bad ballpark.
It's true. Second base, you were looking at Robinson Cano. I like Seattle here, contrarian, just because Peacock's been pretty serviceable this year.
Yeah, I've only played Peacock once this year, and it was one of those outings where he only lasted like 3 or 4 innings. So I'm not super thrilled with him. That's why I kind of like Cano in this scenario, and I think he's slowly just coming around. He's a guy, even though he is kind of expensive, but he's a guy that not many people think about. I know he was in the All-Star game and so forth, but he's kind of an afterthought for DFS purposes just because he went from New York being such a hitter-friendly ballpark to Safeco, which kind of is a mixed bag for him. He still does somewhat well. So I think in this ballpark, it's definitely going to help him.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I feel like the price tag's nice. You got Jose Altuve's up. He's 5,800. You got Murphy, 51, LeMahieu. You got Cano just sitting there. He's 4,400. A good ballpark, like you said.
Absolutely. Going on Altuve, he had a really nice stretch until he blew it yesterday with 6 at bats, and it was 10 plus DraftKings points in I think like 8 straight games, and he was really phenomenal, and that really warranted his price tag. But I don't know if you could really do it on this slate after what he did yesterday, and if you're really going to have to roster Kershaw, it might not work out.
Yeah, I think when you look at 5,800, you want obviously for me, he's going to have to get 20 plus DK points, even probably higher for me to warrant the price tag. Altuve's shown to be that type of player at times. And I'm not going to say he doesn't have upside at that price because he does, but I just, like you said, this slate's tough to pay for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So even though he does have potential and definitely bounce back opportunity, I'm not feeling it this day.
Yep. Daniel Descalso is a guy I'm taking a look at against Romano. This is one where I like the Arizona offense. I feel like outside of Goldschmidt, they're kind of priced down, and you get them in a good spot. So Descalso's been a guy who's been pretty solid, running 200 ISO against righties in this ballpark too. It just kind of gets that bump for me.
Oh, absolutely. I always liked Descalso. I was an early adapter to him. So I definitely agree with you there. Throw him in, and he has good opportunity most nights to do well. So I like him. Another guy that I'm taking a look at would be Whit Merrifield. He gets the lefty. Boyd, really, he's kind of in the middle. He's not the best, also isn't that terrible, but I think Merrifield's been on a good run lately. Not obviously the best ballpark, but you can still see a lot of scoring sometimes in Kauffman Stadium. So I don't mind him here, especially if he's top of the lineup.
No, I don't either. And I'm looking on the other side of that game. Ian Kinsler, 233 ISO against lefties this year. I just feel like he's too cheap. 3,600 on DraftKings is a really nice price tag for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've been harping on all day, it's going to be a matchup dependent kind of thing and price tags and just seeing what happens because you're going to pay up for pitching most likely.
Yeah. I'm not playing Edwin Jackson, that's for sure.
No.
No.
Uh,
So does Edwin. Edwin Jackson sucks just enough for me not to use him.
Yeah, Edwin Jackson on the slate kind of makes me not want to play it at all because it's very depressing.
Yeah, this slate's kind of, but
I can't believe he's still pitching. It's 2017. It's like 15 years from.
Bartolo Colon found another job. Anything is possible, Nick. Anything's possible.
No, I know.
So,
hey, do you want to know something funny?
let's hear it.
It's not funny, but whenever I'm down, and I know I tweeted this, but nobody liked it, so I just want to put this out in video. Whenever I'm down, I think of Philip Humber, the guy who threw a perfect game for, I believe it was, Seattle or the White Sox. So it just makes me think that you can do anything in this world.
Anything is possible, Nick. Set your mind to it, you can do it.
I know, we can Philip Humber. So, all right, we can move on. That's a very bad detail that I had. So let's go to third base, please.
Third base, absolute loaded position tonight. This is a spot where you got Arenado and Coors, you got Chris Bryant against a lefty, but I love Freddie Freeman here. His new third base eligibility against Lackey. I can't actually see ownership being too high for any one of these guys because Josh Donaldson against the lefty, Justin Turner, they're all in play, and there's even more guys that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, literally the top 10, all you could make a case for playing them. I mean, you got Arenado and Coors. You even have Rendon going up against who is it? Chavez, who's terrible against righties. So I mean, I kind of agree with you. I think ownership is going to be sparingly because it's going to be evened out through everyone. So you have a lot of opportunity on this slate. One guy that I like would be Travis Shaw. I think he'll be extremely low owned because of the ballpark, but even so, he still hit righties really well this year. So I don't mind him. His price tag isn't too bad.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't mind Shaw against Nova, Nova's been giving up a ton of hits. Yeah, in that ballpark as well, I think it's going to carry lower ownership just because also you have some of the other names. I mean, Jake Lamb's right there, the same price on DraftKings, 4,400. Lamb's a guy that I'm after because, this is a guy who at home, we've seen him around the 5K range, kind of, cooling down a little bit, but 382 WOBA against righties, 262 ISO. It just makes sense for me to play Lamb, I think, in all formats, basically, because he just doesn't kill your lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think another guy, too, that we haven't touched on would be Jacob Turner, I think. Or is it Justin? I always mess it up.
You always say Jacob. It's Justin Turner. Show some respect.
Could it be Jason?
Huh?
Could it be Jason Turner?
No, Justin.
All right. Anyways, he still matches righties very well, and we all know how his matchup in this ballpark is definitely going to probably produce tons of runs. So I like him. Again, he's one of those guys who are priced right at that price point where basically everyone's at. So ownership's going to be real low. It just depends on what guy's going to do something. I think a lot of those guys are all in good opportunities.
Yeah, I'm with you there. In terms of cheap guys, there wasn't anyone that stood out to me that I completely loved, but I'll definitely take a look at Ryan Healy. This is a guy who he's struggling a little bit of late, but really strong numbers against lefties, 441 WOB, 323 ISO. You're looking at Blake Snell, it's a guy who's just kind of hasn't figured out the major league level, 348 WOBA allowed. Most of his strikeouts come against lefties, so I like Healy here in terms of a cheap value play.
Yeah, my cheap guy, I know this is crazy, but it would probably be Louis Valbuena. I mean, he's terrible. Edwin Jackson's terrible, so maybe something positive will come out of it. He does have potential, like the other day, 2 home runs and all that. So there's still a lot of potential in that bat, but it just doesn't come too frequently. But at that price tag and the matchup, I think there's something that might work for him tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Guy we didn't really talk about much, we just kind of mentioned, but Josh Donaldson, he's 4,700 against a lefty in Fenway. It's been a while since we've had a big Josh Donaldson showing, and I think tonight could be one night.
Yep, I agree with you there.
So, we're at the shortstop. This is a spot where I'm kind of going to be looking to pay down a bit, but if you're looking to pay up, it's another Dodgers back, Corey Seager. Carlos Correa, he left the game last night. Trey Turner's out, obviously, so we're kind of limited in terms of top options.
Absolutely. My top option would be Segura. He's just so consistent, and throwing him in there, he's going to get you a good amount of points on almost every night. Again, you'll get low ownership because it's against Peacock, and most people think Peacock's a good starting pitcher. So you'll get low ownership and a good potential to score double-digit in DraftKings points. Price isn't terrible, but it's also saves you a little savings from Corey Seager.
Yeah, I'm like him. Leading off there, Didi Gregorius is another one I like. 347 WOBA off righties this year, 209 ISO. Going up against Cologne, he's a lot over 370 WOBA. And I think Gregorius is actually priced really nicely, kind of in that mid-range where, he is the best option kind of in that 3,500 to 4K range.
I kind of agree with you. I probably will have a lot of Didi Gregorius tonight just because he bats in the middle of the order. He has some potential, and like you said, going up against Cologne, it's not going to end well, most likely for him. So I don't mind Didi there. The only other guy I had right in that same kind of pricing area would be Marcus Semien. Obviously not the best ballpark, but he still does well. He gets a lefty matchup tonight, which definitely will benefit him.
Yeah, A's are a weird team because they actually play really well at home. I don't know what it is.
And I think, too, you look at Blake Snell, who has trouble with walks, and these guys who hit somewhat well at this ballpark against a guy who might give them free passes could definitely add for a lot more runs than expected.
Yeah, definitely true there. Yeah, same kind of price range. True Tulowitzki's a guy, 3,300 on DraftKings that I don't mind here against Brian Johnson. I think it's just more because of his price tag. He's shown a little bit of upside of late. Saw a couple homers before the break. For the most part, he's been pretty quiet, but you look over his last 10 games, he hasn't been all that bad. I think at 3,300, you don't need that much out of him either, so he's not going to kill your lineup. I think he's one of those plays where, if you don't want to completely pay up, you want to save some cash, I don't mind going down to him.
Yeah, I really can't hate on Tulowitzki. I mean, clearly he's not what he used to be. Obviously, we all expected that from leaving Coors. But, I mean, he still has a lot of potential. He does hit lefties well. And like you said, ballpark's really good for him too here.
Yep. More of the outfield. In terms of pay-up options, you were looking at Mike Trout. I always think Mike Trout kind of goes a little bit overlooked on slates like these because you got Judge against Bartolo, you got Blackman and Coors, you got even Bryce Harper. I know he's out in LA, but that's going to be a nice showdown between two of the best outfielders in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not super sold that Trout's going to have a phenomenal game, but he is going up against Edwin Jackson. The ballpark obviously hinders his ability here. But at the end of the day, he's still Mike Trout, and he just came back from the DL, so he's slowly going to start turning it back up again. And like you said, he is playing against Bryce Harper in this game, so it's kind of one of a showmanship where he kind of wants to show off and show the home crowd what he can do against the other young guy out there.
I like that. Bring the young buck narrative here.
Well, I'm just saying, you look at the young guys in the MLB, and it's really like Trout and Harper, and then there's everyone else. Obviously, there's other really good players like Judge, but for the most part, the last few years, it's really been big name-wise have been Harper and Trout, and they kind of been going back and forth the last few years.
Yeah, it's true. I like both of them tonight. I think you can make a case for any of his names up top. I mean, George Springer's also in play. He's been phenomenal this year. I think in terms of upside out of this group without ownership aside, Aaron Judge, for me, has the most going up against Bartolo Colon. I know you and I were talking before the show. It was like, he's looked a little bit off, and you could say maybe the Derby has that, but I think this is just too good of a spot to not get some exposure at the least because Cologne and this bullpen together, I mean, it just seems like the Yankees should be able to tee off here.
Yeah, I agree with you. You would probably say that Cologne is like a batting practice pitcher, right?
That's what I said.
I was waiting for that joke, and I didn't hear it, so I had to throw that in for you.
Yeah, 60-mile-per-hour meatballs heading right now. That's what you're going to get.
Yeah, so I actually don't mind judging this matchup. Obviously, it might take him a little while to get back into his routine. We've seen that a lot over the years. But like you said, Cologne really isn't your typical starting pitcher.
No, it's definitely not. Outside of that, though, I kind of take a big jump, like the 45 to 5K range. I don't really like the 4K range on FanDuel. I'm not a big fan of. I kind of like paying down a little bit. I feel like there's some really nice values. I mean, AJ Pollock is cheaply priced because he hasn't really done a ton since coming back from injury, but leading off here, this is a really good spot to use him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hard not to like AJ Pollock. He's just a good hitter. Obviously, always have had issues when he's healthy. So I kind of like him here. It's just, to me, this outfield position is just, there's so many terrible starting pitchers that you could really make a case for like 80% of these hitters.
Yeah, you really could because I mean, I'm not going to go too deep in this one, but like Jock Peterson once again, Miguel Gonzalez doesn't miss a lot of bats. I like the Dodgers. What do you think about the Detroit bats? I mean, Justin Upton. I know JD Martinez got pulled yesterday. Um, Once again, their prices are all kind of dropped down, but I don't know. I'm somewhat intrigued.
Yeah, I kind of am too. I'm kind of waiting to see if Martinez is in the lineup and so forth because it is against lefty, but then again, he's a relief pitcher, so we might have a couple innings and then different relief pitchers might come in and neutralize them. So I'm kind of on the fence with this game. It's also not the best ballpark, but I don't mind it. So, like we spoke earlier, there's a lot of bad ballparks, so it might even things out.
Yeah, definitely could. Um, who are you looking at in that kind of mid range?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Baltimore guys going up against Tyson Ross. Ross, he's had some good starts, but he's also had some blow up ones that we've all kind of expected to. And one guy in particular, be Seth Smith, did well since coming back from the All Star game recently. Also, you look at Ross, he's only allowing like a 255 WOBA to lefties on the year. But when you go back to his last season, he was having a WOBA over 300 against lefties. So I definitely think there's some regression there. And I also don't mind guys like Adam Jones as well. Then one other I want to just add, since we're on the trashing Bartolo Colon train, Clint Frazier, depending on where he's at in the lineup, I think he has a lot of potential here too.
Yeah, I like that core quite a bit. You're going to get lower ownership on him. Um, yeah, outfield's an interesting spot tonight because I mean, I feel like there's a couple guys I'm going to use in the outfield spot, like Bellinger, who's first base eligible as well on FanDuel and DraftKings. But um, this is a spot I think I'm going to have to pay down a little bit. And Chris Young's the guy I'm going to be looking to do that with for the Red Sox. Extremely cheap. He's probably going to hit about fourth, fifth, or sixth, depending on what Farrell wants to do. Against the lefty, Haps is kind of a guy who I think he'll limit the damage, but I still think there's going to be some damage done, and you just got to be hoping that's Chris Young.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at Happen. I mean, last year he was really good. This year he's been so-so. He's had some pretty bad outings, especially recently. So I'm definitely against the J.A. Happ train. But at the same time, I'm not going to be throwing tons and tons of Red Sox guys in there. Probably Betts and Young are probably the only two guys, and even Sam Travis, if he's batting like fifth or sixth, I don't mind throwing him in there as well.
Yeah, I think those platoon bats are the way to go. I like Jay Bruce tonight. You look at Michael Waka. I mean, this is a guy who's been actually pitching pretty well of late. Still lefties though, allows a decent hard contact rate. 341 WOBA. Jay Bruce, I mean, 396 WOBA, 296 ISO against righties this year. Has actually hit somewhat well in City Field. So I think he's priced nicely. I think he's going to go lower owned too.
Yep, I agree with you there. What are your thoughts on Mikey Matuk? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, big
He's
game last night. I don't know. I think
yeah,
the
he's got
recency
a bunch of
bias, I might be off of him just because, one, I mean, he's not a consistent guy, but if people are going to be on him just for the ownership and the fact that he played well last night, I'll probably stay away.
Yep, I kind of agree with you there. I mean, he's under 3K, which could get you a lot of savings, but like we talked about, he might only see one at bat against our friend Travis Wood, so it might not benefit us, and especially if he has a huge ownership rating, it might just bring everyone down.
Yeah, that's true. Outside of that, though, I mean, it's going to be in a night where you want to keep an eye on the lineups. You want to see where the value comes out if we get anyone, especially at those weaker spots like shortstop, catcher. Obviously, you take the guy in the good spot and kind of run away with it.
Yep, couldn't agree with you more. It's one of those things where you just have to wait and see.
So that's going to wrap it up for us. You can head over to dailyfantasycafe.com, check out our great tools and content.